This is a redone intro here. I can't believe I got through that entire video without saying the word fun. So, one of the main things that Cory does is make sure the game is as fun as possible. And of course, being a game designer, that's also my goal. But he has a very good eye for game mechanics. So he's very instrumental whenever an idea is being developed in making sure that anything added to the game really brings as much as it can to the table, making sure there are as many options and as many possible strategies, and making sure that everything is fun, making sure it's a fun game. And so you may have heard me talk about Cory. Cory did this, Cory said that, Cory loves Mage War. And you may have wondered, who is Cory Powell? Hey everybody, Mark here. And in this video, we are answering the question, who is Cory Powell? Well, Cory is a good friend. We met in elementary school, I think middle school. We knew of each other's existence in elementary school, but we became friends in middle school and started playing Magic the Gathering, and then later Dungeons and Dragons, and just a whole bunch of similar interests: Dragon Ball Z, Star Wars, just a ton of nerdy, geeky stuff. And sorry, and then we lost contact for a number of years, and then a few years ago got back in contact, and occasionally would chat about games. Sometimes I would send him something I was working on, and he'd give me his thoughts. And then one day I had the idea for Mage War, and I sent him the first draft, and he was very interested and immediately started giving out suggestions. And I was like, oh, that's cool, yeah, how about this, then, and just working back and forth, just throwing ideas. And very quickly it escalated. And even from the beginning, I think from the first moment that I had the very first draft of Mage War, we worked the whole time in development just nonstop. Every free moment we had, just going through and refining Mage War. And although I am the author of Mage War and the creator of Mage War, and I make all the final decisions and everything, Cory is a very integral part. And it's kind of, I don't really know if you could qualify it with like a job title, but Cory is definitely the lead playtester and just sort of my primary consultant for all things game mechanics related. Cory is a very competitive gamer in whatever he does, not like in a bad way. He's very, very good natured. One of probably the nicest person I've ever met. And yeah, Cory is just awesome, but also very, very good at games. And especially Magic the Gathering. When we were kids, we lived out in kind of a rural area, and we didn't go to a lot of game stores. There weren't really any around. There was one that opened up later, but it was really out of the way. And so Cory and I never got competitive, but Cory didn't go to like competitions until later on, when he was older. And so back in the day, we didn't know anything about the competitive scene, but Cory was the one who figured out all the different meta decks. He was the first person that I ever saw figure out the bird deck, and he played around with Kavus. He also had a very competitive, gosh, what's the artifact? An affinity deck. He was the first one that I ever saw to figure out the affinity deck, and he did all of this before it was like out on the internet and everything. He just figured this out because he was just that good of a player, and so yeah, Cory's a very, very good person to consult with for me, and kind of the way we work. This kind of ties into a lot of our personalities, and just I don't know. I think a lot about how we approach life, but in development, the only thing that matters is the game. The only thing that matters is the correct answer, and it definitely comes a lot from his good nature, but it's never a question of pride. It's never a question of I don't even know how to describe it, but I feel like in developing ideas, you run into a lot of really strong personalities and people who just want it their way. And with Cory, he very strong person. It's very very he has a very strong foundation. Mentally and everything, he's a very balanced person, and so in development, if an idea that he had didn't work out, it wasn't like he felt discouraged, or it wasn't if he felt like I wasn't accepting his ideas or anything, because the same thing would happen for me. Is I would suggest something, and Cory might be able to tell me why that wouldn't work. And if something that Cory suggested was right, I immediately acknowledged it. And it's because in our development process, the only thing that matters is the correct answer, figuring out the math, figuring out the logic. And one of the things that we it is just natural for us. We didn't formulate this, we didn't agree on this or anything, but whenever we have an idea and we're asking the other person, how does this look to you? Did I miss anything? Is this right? Does it work? The response is an analysis, and it is a full kind of logical proof showing whether or not the idea is valid and true. And that's how we get all the soundness in Mage War. That's how that Cory was the first one to point out, to notice the balance. That's always kind of my natural inclination for making games. I naturally try to make balanced games, but I wasn't doing this consciously as I want to make balanced games. That's just how I make games. I'm not happy with designs that aren't balanced in a very complete way, or as a complete way as I can make it. But I didn't quite put it in those words in my head. I didn't have any words for it. But Cory pointed it out, and he was like, "Wow, this is so balanced here." And one of the things it was, if something was underpowered, he could say, "Well, it's actually, things are so balanced, you could actually bump this up." And so when he pointed that out very, very early. And so I just really picked up on that, and I knew that was the direction that things needed to go. And so I consciously, and we both, once we understood that, we the whole time were focused on making everything that we were coming up with balanced. And I am still I throughout the entire process and continuing on, I am still the lead designer. All of the main ideas are mine, and all of the decisions with how things, the actual design directions, are my decisions. But Cory makes a lot of suggestions to make adjustments. So whenever I come up with like a section idea, like a new card type or something, I'll write up the whole rough draft of the card section, and then I'll send it to him, and he'll read it, and he'll go through and he'll think about everything, and he'll say, oh, okay, you missed this, or like maybe that could have a problem or something. And then in a lot of cases, when it was specific abilities, my main question was, can you figure out an infinite combo with this, or is this broken in terms of cost? And so Cory was the main mind who went through and analyzed primarily all of the abilities for infinite combos. He figured out all the infinite combos in the design process, and then I went from there and tweaked everything and made sure everything was balanced, trying to get it at that 0 line. And so I'll definitely go into this more kind of for like how the actual thing, how everything happened. And it happened over, let's see here, a very, very short period of time. It was, I want to say 4 months. From beginning to end, all of Mage War took 4 months. And it's because we just worked like demons. And I am very thankful to Cory for all the time that he puts into this. I'm not paying him anything yet, at least, unless I, can make some money and actually make a company. But, I promote his template cards, and there's some other ideas we've discussed. But yeah, just like all of you, he is just as free and takes advantage of the ability to print Mage War cards. And going forward, if he wants to, put anything else into doing that, he might. So we're all trying to, pick up and make it worthwhile. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about for Cory. He makes very competitive mead. He's a brewer. So if he ever goes a little more mainstream, kind of professional, if he wants to do that, I might promote those brews. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'll talk more about Cory later, just, as things go on, now that you kind of know who he is and, the sort of role he plays. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Cory is just my main consultant for Mage War, and pretty much all the ideas that I have, and he's the main, he knows everything that's going on. He's the first person to know pretty much anything going on with Mage War. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Coming up in the next video is going to be the first example of analyzing the power level of Magic cards. And the first two I'm going to go over are 2 Throne of Eldraine cards, Oathsworn Knight and Robber of the Rich. And then we're going to get into a bunch of other stuff later. And also, I'm getting a whole shipment in of the new template cards. So I'll show those off, both mine and Cory's. Cory was very kind, and he sent me pretty much the whole catalog of his cards for me to use on the channel. So thank you so much, Cory, for everything, for just everything. Thank you, Cory. And so I'll show the cards when they get here. And that's pretty much it. I gotta go work on that next video for showing you how to analyze cards. So I'm about to set up for that. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe and check out the game. Check out Mage War. And see ya.